Hello friends, welcome back to the Ray of Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo, and today we have another tarot review that I wanted to do. I did originally have another video that was supposed to premiere today, but I decided I need a little extra time to get that reading done. I wasn't quite in the spiritual channeling mode at the time, so I just felt like I needed a couple extra days, so I'm switching these videos now, doing this one now instead of the one I originally planned, but you get this cool tarot review today about the Light Seer's Tarot that I'm excited to share with you. So for the Light Seer's Tarot, I keep it in another little container now here. That's because the original packaging that I received my deck in, I think I got this off of Amazon initially, just came with this small deck. Like there wasn't a guidebook or anything. You can download a guidebook online from what I've seen, but this box here has started to break over time. So I keep it in another container just to make sure that the cards can stay safe and stay in good condition for as long as possible. So the Light Seer's Tarot, really pretty deck. So there's just lots of really cool imagery in this deck. That's what initially attracted me to it. There's lots of color. The imagery is very different. We have lots of gender neutral and beings of different genders, or what look like they can be of different genders, lots of different cultures and ethnic backgrounds and everything. I think that's really cool with this deck. Also a lot of color in this deck. That's something that really attracted me to this deck initially to start. If we just kind of peek through here, we just see all these colors. There's not so cool. So there's not anything consistent colors for the suits or something you might see in other decks. It's all very different and different imagery and very unique imagery too. I thought that was really cool with this deck, where as I'm doing research about different cards and different going through the major arcana, now I'm going through the sword suit, there's just different elements. You'll see the original right away elements for a lot of these cards, but they're also very different at the same time, right? So here's a Three of Swords, right? I'm doing research on the Three of Swords right now, so we definitely get the feeling of the Three of Swords energy from the original Rider-Waite, but there is a little bit different imagery in this one. And I think with the Light Seer's Tarot, it really gets down to the feeling, the energy of what it is. Something like the Wild Unknown, it's very simplistic, right, and is really drilled down to the core meaning. But this really Light Seer's Tarot here by Chris Ann really captures the feeling of that card. I think that's usually what the feeling I get off of the card when I'm looking at it. Where something we have another ace right here. So the Ace of Swords, right? The really the eureka aha moments present in this one. We can see the movements through our minds, these different elements of thinking and working through. I think that's very interesting. What I like for this deck too specifically, right, is it's not necessarily gender bound for certain things. The kings tend to be more masculine figures, and the queens tend to be more feminine figures. But right, for example, for this one, the Hanged Man, right, we have a more feminine figure here, which I think is interesting. Or something like Death and Rebirth in this card, right, that's not a gendered card at all, and I think that's very cool and unique here. I appreciate that with this card, or this deck specifically. I think the Light Seers, the deck overall is just very, energy-wise, very calm. It's very easy, energetically to work with, right? So something versus my Santa Muerte, which is a little bit more harsh, a little bit more abrupt, a little bit more firm. It's kind of the opposite of that. It's a little bit more gentle. It's a little bit more calm. It's a little bit more fun. A little bit more, it's not young specifically. I'd say my Halloween Tarot might feel a little bit young sometimes, just for the types of the cards, but there's just lots of creativity and color, which ends up to a more creative, youthful aspect for the energy of these cards. The deck itself, again, it came in this box, so it's not very sturdy in that regard. And also our card stock specifically, at least the one I have, I'm not sure if it's different across different purchasing platforms and stuff. The card stock's pretty thin on my deck specifically here, so I do worry about potentially bending these cards or them getting damaged. I've done pretty good with my deck so far, but it's something you can just feel it in the card stock by comparison, right? So I have my Santa Muerte here. This is much thicker cardstock. You can just even see just the little bend right there. It's this bends much more easily than my Santa Muerte does. And in terms of shape or size, right? So my Santa Muerte deck here is much bigger So this kind of gives you a little bit of perspective, right? So the Light Seer's card's much smaller for sure. Not a bad thing necessarily, but just something to be aware of, right? It's definitely an easy deck to handle. I can hold it pretty easy. It's probably about the same size as like a deck of cards, just a little bit skinnier than the standard card deck would be. They do shuffle really easy though, I do have to say that. Despite the fact that I'm like worried about them bending or getting damaged, these cards do shuffle really easy. So the finish on them is really good for shuffling, and if you draw cards that way in terms of like cards popping out as you're shuffling and doing like a drop one like this, right? So the Light Seer's Tarot, I definitely worked with it a little bit more recently and got a little bit more used to its energy when I was doing spreads for the December Zodiac, I believe. I think I had a 3-card spread in there. So it's definitely a deck that does pick up energy and learns over time, like it was doing with the Zodiac readings. It got more specific, and it knew kind of what I was asking it after it got like used to the structure of the reading. So that's a really good thing for readers who do a lot of different spreads or different things. It is a deck that will pick up the energy over time and learn you, and as you're learning it as well. I think that's really cool. Oh, top card right here is cool. Look at the Queen of Swords, all right? She's cool. I like her. What else with this deck? So by Chris Ann, their shop you can find online if you just type in their name or the Light Seer's Tarot. They have a Shopify account. I believe I bought my deck off of Amazon initially, but you can find the deck in many different places for sure. Not much like came with it, right? It just came with the box. So there, I think I'd said this, and maybe I said it before, but you can buy the deck guidebook. It is downloadable online from what I've seen, so that's good to know, but just it does keep enough to the original Rider-Waite imagery where I just read it based off of my knowledge from the Rider-Waite. I don't have to like look too hard or too much more, or if I'm going more intuition based for reading the card, there are more key like obvious elements to it, right? It's a little bit more easy to pay attention, right? So we see like with strength right here, right? The half of the face is like that lion, so that's a little bit easier to read. There is easy intuitive elements to read from the deck if you're just going purely based off intuition. So let's see, what else? I would recommend this deck to beginners. I think if you have a decent knowledge for Rider-Waite imagery or you're learning it, this deck isn't going to be much more difficult to pick up with. I think if you have access to Rider-Waite imagery or like the descriptions in a Rider-Waite like guidebook or something, and that's what you've been learning off of, I think this is an easy deck to work with as well. It has a very welcoming, kind energy from my experience with my deck personally, where it's again easy to work with. I don't have to like practice with it. I did take a little bit of time to get used to its energy and get to know it, but I don't think that was just from me picking other decks to use, not because I didn't feel called to this deck or because this deck was hard to use. It was just one I was reaching for at the time because I had other decks I was more keen and interested in when I was doing it, but really working with it more recently with the Zodiac readings, I'm like, oh, this is a fun deck. It's an easy deck to use. So that's a good one. Yeah, good one for beginners, I'd say. I wouldn't mind it'd be what I would get to be for beginners. I like the colors and the creativity for it. So somebody who is very creative as well, I think this would be a really fun one for them. And it's just an easy deck to work with and hold and everything. So, but let us pick a card and see what the Light Seer's Tarot has to say, okay? So, Light Seer's Tarot, for those watching this video today, what do you want to impart on them? What information, advice do you want to impart on them today? Thank you. It's gotten very good at like throwing cards for me, which is what I really appreciate with my tarot decks, where I'm like, okay, hey, we're paying attention. So we have the Empress, but it came out in the reverse. Our Empress came out in reverse. So we really need to be paying attention to our intuition today. We need to be paying attention to our deeper feelings and emotions, right? Our Empress here. Let's get autofocus back. There we go. Focus in. There we go. So our Empress here, right, has the whole world, is encompassing of the whole world. So we want to really make sure that we're paying attention to ourselves. What was important in our world was important to ourselves, and what we need to do to take care of ourselves, right? We're thinking in terms of Mother Earth and how Mother Earth takes care of us and how we need to take care of Mother Earth. So that really lends us to self-care and making sure that we mother ourselves in the right way as we need to give us the support we need. And you can mother yourself no matter what gender you identify identify as, you can give yourself that mothering energy. It's something we all have inside of ourselves. So keep that in mind today. Definitely important as we go through lots of stressful times with the holiday season here coming up. So keep that in mind today. But that's all I have for us today, friends. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Please like and subscribe down below and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.